You know, if you'd like to gather around me, I think I'm going to be okay. Come on. Come on. So we are restoring sanity and common sense very simply to our government. We're defending the rights and safety and pride of the American people, including our great, great, great female athletes. What athletes you are, too. Sit down, please. Down in front. Thank you. Thank you so much. Everybody, thank you. You know, if you'd like to gather around me, I think I'm going to be okay. Come on. Come on. Secret Service is worried about them. If we have to worry about them, we have big problems. Okay, do you want to do this? Watch what I do, and then I'm going to give you some pens, okay?
Wow.
You ready? What a nice picture this is, huh, Governor? You ready? We'll do a good job. Wait, let me press that. I want to make this a really good signature, because this is a big one, right? Oh, I think we have a 10. We have a 10.
God bless you, Mr. President.
Wow. I got kind of emotional around that. So, for many reasons, but I don't want to get all emotional here because I guess I do, because I think it's so important. I have been championing for women and girls sports since this whole nonsense has started. It does not mean that I do not think trans people should be playing sports. It means trans people should be having their own division. And it doesn't mean that I think trans youth, which, that's a whole other conversation, should not be also having a space to play. But that is how I believe. Well, what I believe is that we can't just make an exception to the rule and override a whole group of people for one or two other people. And so with that, thank you for joining me today. Thanks for coming back to my channel. Thanks for everything. I'm sorry I'm a little bit is because I'm just so emotional about this. And I'm going to show you why at the end of this. So let's move forward here. And I have a bunch of clips that I took that I think are really important and relevant. And I just want to say thank you, President Trump, for signing that particular executive order, because it will really do so much for these young girls and for women. And it really is the right and the fair thing to do. So, okay, I want to bring up this next clip here for you.
Wednesday's news of a transgender ban in women's sports hits close to home for one local track and field coach here in Oregon, who says he was essentially let go from his job for speaking out on the issue last summer.
Wow.
17, 18, 18-2, good job.
The politically correct thing to do is to protect all the athletes, not just a small sliver that feel like that they should have a right to compete against girls.
Former Lake Oswego track and field coach John Parks says by taking a stand for his female athletes by writing a letter to the OSAA before last year's state track meet, he's been unfairly singled out.
Totally.
In doing so, I've paid a price because I applied for some jobs and didn't even get an interview.
Wow.
People made me too hot to touch and think that somehow I'm an evil, bad person for standing up for girls' sports.
Parks, who still coaches about 36 athletes through his nonprofit Ultimate Speed Athletics USA, says he's always been an advocate of trans rights. But when it comes to competition, he believes the executive order highlights important disparities.
That's all I was calling for, and that I want transgender athletes and individuals to have the opportunity to compete, be part of the high school athletics. I think it's valuable for them, but it's also not fair to the natural-born females that they have to compete in that situation because there's just an inherent advantage that has been defined.
So this guy, a coach, speaking out, he's not the only one. And there are many other people who lost their jobs or lost their space in the educational system for speaking out against the unfairness. Never once did they say anything derogatory or mean towards trans people. The guy even just said he believes in trans people, but there has to be a nuance in this conversation, and they were not. And I know people are mad at me for holding the trans community on some level responsible for this, but I will continue to, because you can't push and push and expect everything is just going to go your way forever. Now people like this are pushing back harder on us. Okay. So what he said is very important. He doesn't disagree. He says we need to create spaces for that, which is the correct, politically correct thing to do. So here's the next piece that I want to share with you.
Former Carmel High School swimmer is joining two other women in a lawsuit against two universities, the NCAA and the Ivy League.
All are former University of Pennsylvania swim team athletes, and they are suing the school. They claim that leaders violated federal law by allowing transgender athlete Lia Thomas to compete against them.
Our Karen Campbell talked to one of the attorneys representing the former Carmel student, and tonight shares why she is now seeking justice.
Yeah.
In this 90-page lawsuit, 3 former members of the University of Pennsylvania women's swim program are suing the school, claiming they were discriminated against and allegedly denied equal opportunities to compete. The suit focuses on the 2022 Ivy League Women's Championships, where transgender athlete Lia Thomas won 4 first-place medals and set multiple records. Others mentioned in the suit include the NCAA, the Ivy League, and Harvard University.
So there you go. And we're going to have, that's not going to be the only lawsuit. In fact, there's already a couple more that I know of that are happening. Of course, that's going to happen. If the trans community didn't think this is going to happen, you literally were living in a bubble. It's now going to all come back tenfold on all of you, pushing your way into women's sports like that and thinking you can just come and dominate, literally destroying women's sports. In my opinion, every single one of those trans women athletes need to give those trophies back. It never was fair. Never was fair. So, and no one's being transphobic. I'm going to keep saying it throughout this whole video. No one's being transphobic. We are trying to find the space, and no one's saying trans people can't compete. What they're saying is you need to create a fair and level playing field for transgender athletes to compete. Okay, so lawsuits are going to start.
The House passed a new bill today banning transgender athletes from girls' and women's sports. It's the latest move in a culture war that's played out from the campaign trail to the volleyball court. San Jose State's volleyball team was one major target for anti-trans rhetoric as Republicans across the country campaign for a ban. ABC 7 News reporter Tim Johns explains the stakes of this new bill.
House will be in order.
On Tuesday, the House of Representatives voting to pass a Republican-led bill that would ban transgender athletes from women's and girls' sports. If it becomes law, the bill would apply to all federally funded schools and would change Title IX to recognize only the sex an athlete was assigned at birth.
What should be an opportunity for young women to thrive and compete has been clouded by an agenda that prioritized so-called inclusion over fairness.
The topic of transgender athletes in sports has been a contentious issue in recent years. Some, like Tom Temprano of Equality California, worry the new bill could harm the health and well-being of transgender youth.
It's, disappointing continuation by these far-right extremists to continue to make political pawns out of students that just want to,
Okay, enough of you, dude. So first off, anti-trans rhetoric, they said on the news. No, it's not anti-trans rhetoric. Secondly, this dude, far-right rhetoric, okay? I'm not far-right, okay? And I agree with this. And I'm also a transsexual elder of this community. So get your facts straight, people. And this equality, whatever that organization it is, they're really making me so upset because they also were part of this agenda that they had, okay? Because what about they only care about this few and all. First off, all they say is a very small minority, but then they're so worried about the small minorities' feelings getting hurt. What about all of these girls and their feelings? You don't care about them? So that this whole thing is just so insane to me that they don't want solutions. I'll keep telling you that. I don't see solutions. If the trans community would have come to this with a much more open handed way, like how can we create a space for you and I to participate in a more meaningful and in a fair way. I swear, if they would have come to it that way and been more open about that instead of saying, no, we deserve to be in this space, I think people would have had a different opinion of it and had a little more empathy towards trans athletes. Okay. I'm going to say it again. Just because you're trans, you don't get everything you want.
What was it like sort of behind the scenes, not during competitions? Like, was Lia Thomas changing in the locker rooms with you guys on an all-girls team?
Yes. And so originally when, so after this first meeting, right, there was a lot of people. So everyone was clapping in the room publicly, but privately, a bunch of girls, we'd have one-on-one meetings with each other. We would talk to our coaches, all of that, and talk about how uncomfortable we were with it. And so originally we were actually told that Thomas was going to be changing in the single stall family locker room outside our locker room. That is originally what we were told was going to happen. But 2 years later, when it eventually became a reality, I remember I was looking at the locker chart. We had a new assistant coach and he like reassigned everyone's lockers. And I looked down and I saw that Thomas had a locker like everyone else. And at this point, I said, okay, so he's going to be in our locker room and there's nothing we can do about it.
Wow.
And I actually had a teammate. So I was super fortunate. Our locker room is sort of shaped like an L, and I was at one end and he was at the other. So I was as far away from him as I could have been. But one of my close friends actually wasn't. And she had the locker right next to him. And she went to her coach. No, yeah. And she went to her coach and said, this is a joke, right? There's no way you expect me to undress next to this man. And our coach was just like, I'm sorry, my hands are tied.
And you guys undress out in the open, right? Like, it's not like you hop in a stall. Yeah. Wow. And you guys,
yes,
I mean.
And also, swimming is one of the sports where you are very exposed changing in and out of your suit. Like, it's not like other sports where you're not like soaking wet, right?
So, wow, just wow. They subject first. So I'm going to put a link to this great interview with her name is Paula Scallon. She's amazing. And so what I want to say is that they were first told that Lia Thomas was going to have their own changing room, was going to be private. It was all cool. Everyone was cool. See, trying to find solutions. Then all of a sudden, Lia Thomas is in the locker room with all the chicks. Lia Thomas does not have what women have down there, still has the male anatomy. How is that even like okay? And why are we even like having this situation? This is why all that's going to come back on the trans community tenfold, because you were not respectful of the space you were actually being given. Okay, you were given this space because people did want you to be part of the situation, but you literally abused it by giving yourself a space in the women's room and getting naked in a swimming space in front of women who are not comfortable with that. You, what is it? How does it go? You made your bed. Now you got to lie in it. So, it's quite sad. So listen to this.
My name is Lia Thomas. I'm a transgender woman, a former college swimmer, and the first trans athlete to be named Division I NCAA champion. I started swimming when I was 5 years old. It has taught me so much. It has given me so many opportunities to learn, grow, develop, and connect with my peers. Opportunities that I wouldn't have gotten if I didn't have access to athletics. That's why it breaks my heart to see trans kids across the country lose out on these opportunities.
You weren't a trans athlete when you were 5 years old. You were a little boy, and nobody's telling little boys that they can't play sports. So stop trying to mince words and try to make it gaslight everybody. You were not a trans woman until like 3 years ago. Okay. So your whole life you lived as a boy. I don't care. You were struggling with dysphoria, but it doesn't matter. In reality, you were always living in your biology. This is the rhetoric. This is the gaslighting that they do. When I was a kid, I wouldn't have had the opportunity. When I was a kid, and I'm going to show you something. Hold on. I have one more thing to show you here.
Down, Fallon, Queen of Swords, Fox.
How you feeling right now? I'm feeling excellent. That was sweet, huh? Did you like that? Yeah! Right. And I want to tell everyone else, I'm coming in this tournament. Yeah. Every woman in this tournament better look out. I'm freaking coming.
Yeah, you are.
Well, you heard it here, everybody.
Fallon Fox. One of the most, that one broke a woman's head right open, busted her skull, did all kind. I'm coming up. How, no, that's it. I just needed to show you that. That's the energy these people are coming to this with. No one wants to have that. The last thing I want to leave you with here today is these photographs of me. And when I was a kid, I played soccer, and there I am. And it was one of the most amazing things that happened to me as a young person, as a young girl. And it really, to this day, I'm a team player. I'm a team player. I believe in teams. I love teams. They really helped me come out of my shyness. I felt a part of. I felt like a camaraderie with other young girls and all the butches that were there. This did so much for me. It just changed my life. And so when I see these young girls in their sports, I get teary-eyed because I remember myself as that. And in no way, shape, or form should we tell trans young people, whatever you want to call them, that they can't play. Of course they can, but we've got to give them a space to play where it's a level playing field. And it's all new and it's not fair. And that's what sports is all about. So maybe we should stop transing kids and just let kids be kids. And then they can grow up and figure it out for themselves. So with that, everybody, thanks so much for liking, subscribing, watching this channel, helping it grow. It means the world to me. I think you all know that so much. And, I just, wow. It's all moving fast. And here it comes. Okay, you guys, I'll see you guys all in the next one.